We managed to secure a spot in next year's CONCACAF Champions Cup by virtue of our performance in the Canadian Championship in the last episode, which means we do not need to focus so much on our regular season. Where we finish, how we do, is not as important. Okay, it's still important. We still want to win the regular season. We still want to get number one in the seeding for the playoffs, and we still, of course, want to lift that trophy at the end of the year. It doesn't mean, though, that we need to take our time to get there. And welcome back, everyone, to episode number 31 of The American Dream. I am Mr. Cellophane. Make sure, if you have enjoyed the series, you put a like on this video and subscribe if you have not already. Now that we've got that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed the finals of the Euros and the Copa America that took place yesterday. Thrilling football, I am sure. I'm actually recording this as we are getting ready to kick off between England and Spain. Little inside baseball. We've got 10 matches we're going to be getting through today. We're starting off with a BC derby on the road at Pacific FC. We're going to end up in the middle of July against York United. So we're taking ourselves all the way up to that summer solstice, that summer break that we have in the league. And then we'll take care of the transfer window and the remainder of the season in tomorrow's episode. We are getting closer and closer to Sandro Ferrari being back fit and ready to play. Still has a couple of weeks remaining in his injury rehabilitation. He played 5 matches in the preseason, scored a couple of goals. Can't wait to see what he could do as a backup for our midfield, the 19-year-old that we purchased over the winter. Well, he hasn't gotten into an actual game for us yet, but hopefully we will see him before today's episode is up. And if for some reason you don't remember where we left off on Saturday, we do sit at the top of the table after 12 matches on 24 points. We're 3 points ahead of today's opponent in Pacific FC. However, they do have a game in hand on us, which they're obviously not going to be making up today as we're playing each other. We do have a game in hand, however, on Valor FC, sitting in second place on 22 points, so we can increase our lead in the league with a victory today to 5 points clear at the top of the table. Pretty standard lineup for us as we head into the away Pacific Derby. James Gaffard is still out on international duty with Haiti, so he is unavailable for this match. So Hayden Sargis is going to take his place in the back three with Elanabi and Noah Botna. Marks, of course, is going to be in goal. Our wingbacks are Castillo and Pertuz. Giovanni and Johnston will be manning the midfield behind Noah Verhoeven, who will be in the number 10 spot in support of Yevon Ryazantsev and Alain Didier. One thing that could make our summer break very interesting is we are still getting grumblings from Alain Didier and his camp about wanting to move on to a bigger club. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be possible. There really aren't any bigger clubs here in Canada, well, with the exception of those in MLS, in Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto. Is that what he's talking about? Does he want to go somewhere else? I do not know, but Alain Didier, we may need to figure out what we're doing with him sooner rather than later. First highlight of the match. Good ball across into the middle. Amon Salouf puts Pacific FC up in the early going by a score of 1-0. First shot on target of the match, as it always seems to be. One of those tropes of Football Manager that hopefully when FM25 comes out, they are able to iron out. It seems like the opposition is very good in their opening salvo. Coming in close to halftime, Sargis just missing off of the corner. That was a beautiful delivery from the near side. So good that Castillo's going to get another opportunity. This time it doesn't go as well, but the Botna will settle it down. Player for Johnston, laying it to Pertuz. Up for Elanabi. Ryazantsev now. Why he's not in a more advanced position, I am not sure. Botna, there he goes. He's cutting up that left side, but Johnston is going to get the ball instead. Pertuz laying it back for Sargis. Challenged, thrown across. Nice switch of play, but it doesn't find Castillo. However, we are able to win it back. Ryazantsev in traffic. Finds Giovanni up ahead. Nice first touch by Isaiah Johnston, who's able to lay it inside that far post. Beating Hogan to tie things up at 1. It's Pacific FC 1, Vancouver 1. I guess all it takes is a little perseverance. So after 45, we find ourselves with a tie ball game. Pacific did not manage a single shot on goal after scoring in the 18th minute. We put 7 on, 2 on target, 1 past Hogan, Saloof and Johnston are your goal scorers. Let's see if the second half offers up just a little bit more action. Although it is very good to see a nice level of activity and performance out of the midfield. Not that the midfield has been a weakness for us, but our best rated players so far are Isaiah Johnston and Matteo Schiavone because, well, frankly, nobody else has really done anything. Much like this second half, just a single shot on goal so far. It did go the way of Pacific FC, but we are quickly ticking down to 20 minutes remaining, so I think we need to swap things up a little bit. Riazantsev is going to come out. Mohamed Duquesne's going to take his spot, and Ryan Beecher is going to replace Alan Didier because neither of our strikers really getting a whole heck of a lot done. Abibula is going to come in for Veerhoven as well. We're trying to bump up our offensive output, and we're going to tick our mentality up just a little bit as well. We came into this match on the balanced side, but we have not gotten a single shot on goal off in this second half. Everything has gone Vancouver's way, and they've even taken over in the XG battle. Finally, a highlight, and it comes in the final minute of regulation. Pertuz in control off of the throw, and Sargis to Abatna. Up for Habibullah, feeding it up the left for Castillo. He's got acres of space on that left side. We'll reverse field, switch it over to Pertuz. He's almost negated by Bassett, but Pertuz able to track that down before Bassett knocks it away. Pertuz gets it back. It's just a battle of the two of them. The rest of the guys on the pitch don't need to do anything. They're not involved. Schiavone, though, in control, dropping it back to Abatna. Will work it across to El Anabi, finding Castillo along the near sideline. He'll move it forward. Can he find a pass? Is there a runner that he can pick out? El Anabi finds Beecher, who pumps it right in the face of Hogan. Unfortunately, Beecher was offside, and we go through all of that. Our single highlight in the second half was an offside call. That'll do it. Not a win, but we don't lose any ground either. It's Pacific FC 1, Vancouver FC 1. Moving over to Ottawa. Looked like it was going to be deja vu all over again, as in the third minute, ball across, John Jackson able to put it past George Marks to give Atletico Ottawa a 1-0 lead. They would go down to 10 men, and we took advantage. Schiavone over to Johnson, working it around to the left. Dante Campbell in reserve as a substitute, scoring his second goal of the year to tie things up. And for the second straight match, we finished with a 1-1 draw. Continuing our tour of the Eastern teams, took on York United, did rotate the squad around. This time Campbell did get the start, and he was able to score from about 20 yards out to put us ahead 1-0 in the 52nd minute. Thought about subbing off Matteo Schiavone, didn't, and he ended up committing a foul, which York was able to convert. I thought we were going for our third consecutive 1-1 draw, but then late on, Dante Campbell puts in his second, his fourth of the year. It's Dante Campbell's world. We just live in it. A pair of goals for him. 2-1 the final. Isaiah Johnston did miss a rare penalty in this one, so it could have been far worse. It should have been a 3-1 victory. But then again, if he had scored that, who knows if Campbell would have gotten his brace. Now, Dante Campbell would be on the bench for our next match as we hosted Halifax Wanderers sitting in second place. El Anabi putting us up pretty quickly. Then off of the corner, Riazantsev. It's headed away. Veerhoven into the middle. Matteo Schiavone pots one home to make it 2-0. Sandro Ferrari did make the start in his debut, setting things up as the ball manages to come to Alan Didier, his 10th of the year, 50th in his career. And then at the very death of the first half, Riazantsev off of the free kick makes it 4-0. Ferrari would get a goal on his debut as he was awarded the honor of shooting the ball from the penalty spot, and he drilled it home. Ultimately 5-0. He did have an opportunity at adding a second, a near post header just clanked off of the post and managed to stay out. But a very comfortable victory for Vancouver FC and much needed rest for Isaiah Johnston as well. We, my friends, are rolling. So naturally, after an emphatic 5-0 win, we have a first half with absolutely zero highlights whatsoever. But earlier in the second, it was Pacific FC getting on the board first off of the corner. Isaiah Johnston, though, would pick up his fifth goal of the year from the penalty spot. Seems to be a lot of penalties called in this season. Couldn't get anything else done after that, even though we dominated the match in possession, XG, shots on goal, basically every statistical category you could think of. 1-1, your final score. Our second consecutive 1-1 draw in a BC derby. Things didn't get much better a couple of days later as we headed back to Ontario to take on Forge FC. Luke Zarafa scored his first and second goals of the year. Now, we weren't without our opportunities. Yevhen Ryazantsev had a goal called back from a minuscule offside, and then he clanked another one off of the post later on. So it was a lot closer than it looked on the scoreboard. We actually outshot Forge and had very similar numbers of opportunities, but sadly we just could not put any past Anthony Pinthus. Zarafa with his 2 goals named man of the match. Valor FC in second place as we played host to them. 33rd minute in, ball into the middle. Debo, great hold-up play to get around the defense. Spin it past George Marks to make it 1-0 Valor, and that would be all they needed. A very even contest when all was said and done as far as shots on goal and possession and whatnot were concerned. Just Valor able to take care of the one chance that they were really presented, and frankly, we did not. Which meant that we were headed on the road to Calvary FC, losers of our last 2, without a win in 3, and it looked like more of the same as Hendry picks up his first goal, sneaking it past George Marks on the right-hand side to give Calvary a 1-0 lead. We would get one back, nice feed through, Noah Verhoeven squares of the cross, Mohamedou Kane, who had not scored in a while, picking up his 4th goal of the year. By the way, he has now set a record for a number of appearances for Vancouver FC, past Elliot Simmons. Beckstein in the middle, though, at the last couple of minutes of the first half, we're able to put Calvary up 2-0. We made a slight tactical change. It's a bit of a wider pitch, so we widened our stance, and it seems to have worked. Bertuz into Verhoeven to tie things up at 2, less than a minute into the second half, and then Sargis will steal the ball away. Bertuz, Verhoeven, Johnston in for Didier, his 11th goal of the season. It's 3-2 Vancouver, and that is where we would end up. So even though we continued playing through the middle of the pitch, which is what we've been doing all season long, we spread everybody out a little bit, hopefully not to bunch it up, which also meant that we spread their defense a little bit. They had a couple of opportunities late on in this match, but they were not able to get too many shots on target. So ultimately, we put the end to our 3-game skid with a 3-2 victory. With so many matches in a row, we rolled the dice and threw out a rotated squad as we played host to Atletico Ottawa. Ryazantsev with the feed into Mohamedou Kane, sticks it past Cisse in the 22nd minute to put us up 1-0, and my fears were slightly abated. Hobby Bullet doing it all himself, scoring the goal. We have not played him a ton. He got the start in place of Verhoeven today, and it was a 2-0 matchup. Off of the corner, though, Kramer sneaking in past Marks, and then Ryazantsev with no Isaiah Johnston. Penalty called late in the match. He was able to put it home and deliver. Yevhen Ryazantsev for his 7th goal of the year. At the end of the day, we took care of business at home. It was Vancouver FC 3, Athletic Ottawa 1. So ironically, 9 games later, things don't look, well, all that much different. We are at the top of the table on 39 points. That wobble caused us to lose that top spot for a week or so we had to climb on back. Pacific FC remains in second. They're on 38. We have a 4-point lead over Valor FC in third. Still pretty much a foregone conclusion to make it into the playoffs. Just 7 matches left in the season. We are 15 points ahead of Calvary FC in 6th. So we just need to make sure that we don't fall into the bottom of the table trap as we take on 8th place York United FC at home. It's going to be George Marks in goal. A back 3 of Elanabi, Abotna, and Gefrard. Castillo and Pertuz on the wings with Johnston and Ferrari in the midfield. Up top will be Ryazantsev and Didier in support at the number 10, Noah Verhoeven. Took me 22 matches this year and all the years before to finally figure out a different way to phrase the end of that starting lineup. See, I threw you guys a little bit of a curveball. York United on a decent run. They've won 3 of their last 5, including their last 2 matches. They, though, are, now in 7th place. They've managed to pull themselves off of the bottom of the table. So maybe this will be a nice, easy win now that we don't have that curse looming over our heads. York is going to be in the white. We are in the black. And the dog is very excited, so I apologize if you heard that little bark in the background. Getting things off, though, Castillo, final 3rd throw-in. Back to Isaiah Johnston, works his way past the man, throws it back post. Alain Didier, his attempt just a little bit too strong. It always fascinates me what Football Manager considers to be a key highlight. Hassel to send it long, gets it to the midfield stripe, but Castillo wins it. Ryazantsev, though, unable to hang on. The ball is knocked loose to Dante along the near side, dropping it for Smith, across for Etchart. He will send it. Pertuz heading it forward. Yamada, though, will win it back, and York still in control of the ball. We've played just over 15 minutes in this match. Smith up for Liu Song. Dadaluke has 2 men on him, so we'll just drop it back for Smith. Good possession in the midfield for York United. But if we are just patient and we hold our positions, we'll steal it away just like that as Pertuz steps in front of that one. Plays it to Noah Verhoeven. Back for Ferrari. He'll go from range, clank it off of the crossbar, and it stays out. Ferrari getting it once again off of the clearance. Playing it for Abatna over Elanabi, flipping it forward, and that's going to end the highlight. Giffard playing it for Pertuz, who will just drop it all the way back to Marks, who will look to restart things. Elanabi still in the Vancouver end. Feeds it up the left. Castillo looking to go back the other way. Elanabi in control up the middle. Ryazantsev, he's got Isaiah Johnston in a bit of traffic. 3 men around him, so he'll lay it off to Castillo along the near side. Elanabi, Johnston in for Ferrari. Ferrari doing a lot of work here in this first half for the 19-year-old. Pertuz along the outside, chipping it forward for Verhoeven. Into the middle, finds Alain Didier, and a huge save being made by Hassel, which will lead to a Vancouver corner. This one is going to be taken by Castillo. He waits, everybody sets up, sending it near post. Abatna, save made, ball bandied about. Ferrari's second attempt is going to go wide. All Vancouver FC in the first 25 minutes. 6 shots on goal to 0, and we're looking to push forward once again. Johnston, Verhoeven, he had a man on his right, but decided to go left to Isaiah Johnston. In traffic, up for Alain Didier, feeding it wide. Pertuz, Juan David Pertuz, deep. Didier, shot blocked. Another corner coming up for Vancouver. Castillo is going to survey his options, and he chooses to go near post. Man's going to head that clear. It'll be back all the way back to Ryazantsev. Off of the throw, and York is going to control. Let's see if they play the possession game. Nope, they're going to just lump it forward. It's going to go too far in front of everybody. Bad play there by Marks, but ultimately the offensive players had already backed off, so he's got plenty of time to find an outlet, and he goes to James Giffard up the middle. Remember, we play through the middle. That's our style. Ryazantsev, Didier, quick pass. Isaiah Johnston is able to put the long shot past Hassel, his 6th goal of the year, and Vancouver claims, finally, a 1-0 lead. 10 shots to 2, 63% possession. I would say that it was about time for Vancouver to score. How about another one? Elanabe keeping it in, playing it back to Noah Verhoeven, blasting it home from inside the edge of the 18 for his 8th of the year. So those corner kicks, even though we weren't able to get things done off of the initial corner, Elanabi, Verhoeven finding a lane, blasting it past Hassel. Vancouver 2, York United 0, and that was a perfect way to end that first half. A dominant first half for Vancouver. Yes, we should be probably leading by a lot more on the scoreboard, although we are currently concurrent with our XG. 15 shots on goal to 3. No shots on target for York. Let's hope that this second half is going to bring more of the same for the men in black. We have this year, obviously we had those hiccups that we saw the highlights from earlier, and we had that little bit earlier on in the season. This team, though, has been generally clicking on all cylinders. We don't really have, from 1 to 23 on our depth chart, we don't really have a weakness necessarily. Now, there are certain players that we are not taking advantage of. Amadume is the biggest one. We've actually decided to unregister him and re-register the young striker Kalala, who is not really part of the game day squad. Didier being called offside on that one. We're still keeping the pressure on, though, in this second half. But very rarely are there aren't players coming to us talking about more playing time, because we are playing a very healthy rotation through. We're getting a ton of people, plenty of minutes. Hayden Sargis not factoring in this match, but he has played in, I believe, 26 matches already this year in all competitions. Splitting his time between the midfield and the center of defense. We're definitely getting in Nanway and Dante Campbell as extra time on the wingers, even though Pertuz and Castillo are probably amongst our best players on the team. Isaiah Johnston has been given a rest a couple of times, has played up Pertuz in a bit of traffic, chips it in. Ryazantsev tries to flip the keeper, and it hits off the crossbar. We're going to make some substitutions here late on. Ferrari is tired. Giovanni is going to take his spot. Dante Campbell will come in for Castillo. Nonway picked up a little bit of an illness, and he's unavailable for this match. And we'll bring in Mohamedou Kane as well. Triple change with just over 15 minutes remaining in this match, which has been going the way of Vancouver FC the entire time. And I'm very happy with these types of displays. We don't need to score a ton of goals necessarily, but whenever it looks like we are clearly the dominant team, where we are taking chances, we're getting more opportunities, and we're denying the other team any real good goal-scoring opportunities. I mean, we're 80 minutes in and not a single shot on target for the opposition. That's the kind of football that we want to play. And if we play that kind of football, we can take a game from Inter Miami like we did. We can maybe, potentially, actually advance into a later round of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. The goal is to win the whole thing, but we've made it now 2, and this will be our 3rd year in a row once the season ticks over and the competition begins in February. But we have made strides from one year to the next. Yes, we got blown out in the second match against Inter Miami. His penalty is going to be called. Jeff Campbell is going to award it. Mohamedou Kane was pushed down, and I think that's going to be Isaiah Johnston taking the penalty shot, because that is his job, and he does his job very, very well. He's missed like 1 or 2 this year, but he has taken more than his fair share and made more than his fair share. It's Vancouver 3, York United 0, as Hassal, even though he guessed correctly, really had no chance at that one, because that was an absolutely gorgeous blast from Isaiah Johnston. So each year, I think we have been, in general, advancing, and I think if we continue on this trajectory, we will find a way to be able to make some hay in that tournament with Vancouver FC. Now, do we stay at Vancouver FC? That's to be determined. Because as successful as we have been and as we can be, there are certain limitations. A huge one is the salary cap, which means that when we go into transfer windows like the one we're about to go into for tomorrow's episode, there's really not a lot we can do. We currently don't have any money available. Our players, frankly, really aren't worth a whole lot. We're trying to sell Amadume. We were trying to sell him for $22,000. He thought we were selling him for too much. We said, okay, what do you think? He's like, how about $3,000? So we really do have a hand tied behind our back, so maybe a big decision needs to be made as we move forward. But for now, we are going to wrap up the season with our summer break transfer window and the final 6 matches of the year. Hope you are back for that tomorrow. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, I know we threw a lot of highlights at you, a lot of information, but we're trying to get to the end of the season as quickly as possible. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you are new or if you have not, and come back tomorrow no matter who you are. I will see you then. Until tomorrow, bye-bye.